another 60-minute sports video. I am Christopher ZIDANE Matthews, the rational one.
And I'm VENGA, the irrational one.
Yes, indeed. So remember, people, you have to like, subscribe, and share. It's very important. So today, obviously, you saw what happened last night, and we're going to go in depth now in terms of the analysis of what took place yesterday. I have a full mouth to say, so I'm going to allow VENGA to go first.
In the interest of time, I'm going to just move through the gears quickly. Starting with goal. Blake in goal, I was not impressed with his distribution. I thought that he was a little ordinary in the distribution. The long kicks weren't working out, and his judgment as it relates to starting the ball from goalkeeper, trying to start from the back, I didn't trust his judgment here. He looked a little shaky at times, a little out of start. Not the worst performance, but it's something I could live with. Scaling through the back four quickly, and I've always said this, I'm not impressed with Adrian Mariappa's marking and tracking, and as a result of his marking, tracking, and just his general interpretation of the game, it allowed for Damian Lowe to be doing the bulk of the work, and at times Damian looked a little flustered. I don't know if because of the workload was too much. We weren't operating a stopper sweeper system, and Damian was far overworked for what was happening in a flat back. Taxi, his posture, every time he received the ball, look as if he was going to go upfield with the ball, and with the midfield pack with so many players, I'm looking for him to knock into midfield, get further up the field, take back another pack, another knock, going down and making crosses. The right side, Fisher, indecisive in every time he approaches the ball. Not sure what he's about. I couldn't determine if he was Fisher or foul. Out of sorts totally, wasn't normal. Now the midfield, it's just too much to mention, but let me state and let me go to the main issue here. Leon Bailey in midfield, I was never ever a fan of that. Leon was not creating any waves in midfield. He was crowded out, antagonized, shirt being torn off, he was agitated, and at one point I was wondering that if he was going to pick up a red card. Leon Bailey likes to play out into the channel in clean air where he goes down, cuts inside and takes shots at goal. And so one of our best assets there in Leon Bailey was being stifled. Not going too much in the midfield, but let me just touch on Grant. Again, another overworked player based on all that was happening in the midfield. Too much work for him, and we have a lot of players in midfield. Touching up front with Roof and Bowser. And Roof were not playing centre forward, in my opinion. They were all over the place, chasing and tackling, and it was not the best use of players. And the whole team strategy, the coordination, and how things operated, it was not to my liking. The whole thing looked amateurish and not at a World Cup level.
Alright, so I'm going to go deeper. And the first thing that jumped out to me is when you mentioned Leon Bailey in midfield. Leon Bailey was not playing as a midfielder. However, because of the persons who were deployed in the middle of the park, we're talking about Grant and Javon Watson, none can pass. They are ball winners and they can make short 5 yards passes. They are not good on the ball, so when they win the ball, they can shake off defenders to create space and openings and then make 10-15 meters passes. They don't have those abilities. So it means that Leon Bailey and Bobby Reid kept coming in field to try and assist in that regard, to try and pick up the ball to do what they need to do. So Leon Bailey was running from deep every time he got the ball. Struggled on some occasions to get by his man, but generally I think he had a decent game. As opposed to Bobby Reid, who was awful. He wasn't involved, no energy, nothing. We got nothing from Bobby Reid. But however, based on how the team was set up, it was difficult for those players to flourish. You have to play football with midfield. You cannot play football without midfield when you have the ball. And you mentioned Blake as well and his distribution. We don't want Blake to be distributing the ball. He's a goalkeeper. But because Blake is aware of that problem that we have with our two midfielders, Javon Watson, Whitmore's friend, and Grant, who plays well in terms of his defensive prowess, but he doesn't do well with the ball. So we have nobody, and both were sitting deep. They are the deep midfielders. So the deep midfielders are the ones who should help with the transition from defense to attack. There was no transition. So the forward players struggled. That's why Bowser kept chasing around like a headless chicken all over the place.
And Roof.
And Roof. I don't know what position Roof was playing. I think he was playing at an advanced attacking
Both were
midfield.
playing no position.
I don't know what Roof was doing on the field. He had a poor game as well. But again, the main issue last time, we were not playing against a superior team.
Exactly.
And El Salvador played one defensive midfielder. Why do we need two when they have one? We should have capitalized on they only utilizing one defensive midfielder. You can see, and I'm going to allow it to come in, and then we get to the second half and why it looked different in the second half. But that was the main issue from the get-go. We looked very ordinary because the most important part on a football field, viewers, is your midfield. You have defenders whose job is to prevent goals. Forwards' job is to score goals. You know what is the link between that? The defense who protect the defenders, and the midfield rather who protect the defenders, and the midfield who helps the forward to score goals. So that is the key there. They do double work. If they are not qualified to do it, then you're going to struggle, and that is the reason why we looked so ordinary for most of the game last night.
Well, ordinary, you're making it look nicely, but ordinary is complementary in this case. It was atrocious what was happening. The team tactic and how the whole setup to play was interpreted by the players. Now, in the second half, we saw some adjustment being made with Bailey being pushed high up the park. Not high enough for my liking, but you could see that he was able to do some damage from high up the park. Still wasn't attacking enough, playing against a weak El Salvador, and we saw when Mikel Antonio, one of the best forward in Europe at this time, not just England, based on current form, and taking West Ham to where it is now, is one of the best players in Europe, forward attacking players in Europe. And I can't see the rationale of you having one of the best assets in football and you want to put him on the pitch for 15 minutes. However, within the time that he was on, he demonstrated why he's currently one of the best in Europe on form and was able to deliver. And I'm saying, play to our athletic prowess. The DNA that is in us as Jamaicans and the link, right? I want to see that DNA, that skill, power and strength coming out in our football where we can be able to run and dominate at the opponents. Packing up a team with midfield players, we're not Brazil or Barcelona. We're not going to play any form of tiki-taki football. Couple of passes in the midfield, you release the front three and we do the damage. Much like an old Manchester United with players just coming in from the flanks and players joining and getting the job done.
Yeah, but it still means that you have to get those balls to those players, and we just didn't have the
one and two passes.
We didn't.
But we can't play tiki-taki.
No, but they cannot make any passes at all. I wonder if you realize.
Well, if we can't make passes at all, we are not good enough for the level.
No, we are good enough, but the personnel is the issue. Don't squirt around the issue. But he is the one who is putting up. Ravel. So we're going to go to the second half now. Ravel Morrissey came on in the second half. Also, Speedy Williams came on in the second half. Speedy Williams, he's not the greatest of passer, but he's better than Grant and Watson at this stage of his career. And he also has the legs, so he was able to go and help the attack quickly, which Grant and Watson, if I combine the age, it's close to 70, it's over 70. So they're lethargic, they're slow in the middle of the park, and I'm saying Grant is okay because he does very well in terms of when he don't have the ball. But you need somebody beside him now who will make that forward run and help in that regard. So he sits, you don't need two players to sit, both of them are slow and don't pass well. It doesn't make any sense. So I think that is the issue. If you look at the second half when Ravel came in, he was so smooth, he was so comfortable in possession. He found those gaps and found those passes. One was played through to Leon Bale, the goalkeeper came out. Beautiful pass. One was played through to, what's his name? Roof. I don't know what Roof was doing. He was through and he turned back the ball to his strike partner, which was a poor decision. He was through and goal. He should have gone through and goal. And we settled, we looked better creatively because we had a midfielder on the park. Grant is not a midfielder in terms of going forward. Watson is not. And Roof is not a midfielder at all, he's a forward. So we had no midfielder in terms of when we have possession. And that's why we struggle so badly. So Tappa again, he got the selection of the team wrong. He also, I don't know why against an El Salvador team, we couldn't start an out-and-out attack. We never needed two people to sit in the middle of the park. It was a joke.
And at this stage, where you need the points, we're way behind and we're playing a catch-up game, go for the whole hog. What's the point in sitting back at this stage? We're way behind and we need to go for it. And what this is pointing to is the analytical skills of Whitmore. It is questionable as to how he's interpreting the way forward. At this stage, I don't know what we should do. Should we replace Whitmore at this stage or should we continue? He interprets the game as largely a defensive game where his strategy is going to be geared toward a defensive posture. And as a result of that, it will take out our best players playing in England or in Europe all over, which is our attackers. And so he designed a system that restricts us. And so at this point, his stewardship is called into question.
Alright, and he's not ruthless enough either. And he has some players that he likes and he sticks with them for too long. For example, Bobby Reid has been horrible right through the campaign. Last game, Bobby Reid did not start. He was benched. All of a sudden now he was able to be back in the starting lineup and was horrible again. He never needed to come out for the second half. He needed to be more ruthless in that regard. So Bobby Reid should not have come out back in the second half. He took too long to make the change. When a player is really bad and is lacking confidence, you don't need to play around with him. So he should have made that change earlier. He took way too long. So Whitmore got a lot of things wrong.
Question for you.
And Whitmore is the reason why we didn't win that game last night for me.
A question for you. Would you agree with me that pulling Bobby Reid and putting another out-and-out attacker on the field would have been a better option?
Antonio would have come in right away for me.
Exactly.
Make some adjustments, but Antonio would come right in there for me. Because the central defenders for El Salvador last night, for most of the first half, was comfortable. They were comfortable. It is a joke.
Total joke. Well,
so for me, Whitmore, that one is on you. And I know people are going to talk about he made the change, bring on the defender last minute. We're not talking about any aspect of the game, Derek. We're talking about overall tactics for the game
and strategy.
And that is what costs you overall.
Right, just the general interpretation and approach.
Yes.
It is not at the level that we desire. And you're taking it further than Whitmore. If the technical committee at the JFF and the technical person is not making an assessment and grading Whitmore as to what is happening on it. Because you must, in any setup, have that technical person to do some form of evaluation on Whitmore, and it's not looking good for the JFF.
Well, it was rumored that he was in trouble before the Canada and Honduras game. After that game, somebody asked me on radio if I would stick with Whitmore even though they won the game, and I said no. I just realized that Whitmore doesn't
but we can't do any
have
worse.
The mind that it takes to make intelligent decisions on the football field. I don't think he has it.
Well, all right, let's see.
Well, let's
USA
see.
next.
I don't know what will happen next, but I know we're not going to go to any World Cup after this. You saw the result from Panama. You see what happened in Canada. Yeah, with the top teams are in front, in pole position, are winning games. USA is at the top of the table now.
All right.
We can't look dark.
So we're going to leave this in the hands of the JFF and see what will happen from here on in.
All right. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. More to come.
Stay tuned.